Casanova wants some loving today. Ah. I don't know why Mr. Casanova is eager for affection. I've got to figure out how to do this a little differently. The children do not like it when I do Star Trek videos because it takes me away from the you need to be brushed, mister. You need to be brushed big time. Wow. You need to be brushed. This is our massively old senior citizen who needs to be brushed desperately. But he's decided he wants some affection. And we usually used to sit with him on the floor, and we need to figure out a way to do that. I don't know. Does anybody know software that inserts while recording? Okay, Casanova, come over here. Come sit on the couch. Go on, sit on the couch. All right, we are on disc. We're on season 2. Disc 1. Disc 2. Disc 2, right? And for whatever reason, the episodes in this season were recorded one way and aired a different way. So we're doing them in the order that they aired. So if you could please hit the like and subscribe, I'd appreciate it. I'm Christina, K-E-S-T-I-N-A. This is where I read books, talk about books, no special effects, no theme music. I am a series person. I like to binge read series. And I like to watch the character progression from episode to episode or book to book. Because they're out in space, there's not too many promotions here, but there is life progression. There isn't too much character progression because they get promoted. There would have to be somebody not in that position to get promoted, or they have to die or something, and that could happen. But I need to figure out a way to. I'm thinking about it. But anyway, I'm not too keen on this episode. I wasn't too keen on the last one either. My favorite, of course, was the 37s. But now we're doing ELOGIUM 18. And it's KES's time of life, I guess is how she puts it. Their species only does it once, and this will come up again. This comes up once or twice again in the series. I know that. But anyways, let's get to it here. So, Chakotay goes to the turbo lift and he has 2 people kissing. There's no captain's voiceover to set up this episode at all. He just sees the people kissing. Oh! Somebody is where they should not be. Casanova, no eating of plants. If you'll excuse me. So then, Tom is helping KES with the vegetables, and Chakotay says that he just missed an example of indiscreet shipboard fraternization. Tom's like, sorry I missed it. So then we get to the cafeteria, and Nelix is jealous of all hell. He's very jealous that KES and Tom have been spending time together and that he assisted her bringing the vegetables. Nelix is very jealous and upset by all this. So then we're on the bridge. We've detected a strange energy configuration off the port bow. Any idea what it is? Paris asks. It appears to be some sort of magnetic disturbance, Kim says. We're going to take a closer look. You seem a little preoccupied, Commander. This morning I interrupted a couple who were kissing in the turbolift, and I've been wondering if we should establish a policy regarding fraternization. Well, the couple in question might be urged to show off a bit more discretion, but Starfleet has always been reluctant to regulate people's personal lives. Of course, but we're in a unique situation here. The development of intimate relationships might cause us problems that wouldn't arise on other ships. I understand what you're saying, Janeway says, but we are a long way from home. Everyone is lonely, and we only have each other. I think eventually people will be better off, including you. As captain, that's a luxury I don't have. Besides, I intend for us to be home before that. Before Mark gives me up for dead. Kim says we're in visual range. Let's see if we can find it. So, space-dwelling life forms. Full sensor scan, Mr. Kim. Their internal energy patterns appear to be consistent with discrete organic processes. Captain, I'd like the chance to study them at close range. So would I, Commander, but let's not get too close. We wouldn't want to disturb their natural behavior. Half impulse power. Take us into bioscanner range. Aye, Captain. And then KES has a situation. Wrong way. She picks up bugs and eats them all. Ew. She picks up the bugs and eats them all. Ew. So then we're back on the bridge again. The swarm is not particularly dense, Tuvok says. I estimate their number at fewer than 2,000. They're really moving, Paris says. He's right. They've accelerated to a velocity of approximately 1,000 kilometers per second. Is it possible we're frightening them? Ensign Wildman says. Keep us within scanner range, Lieutenant. Try to avoid rapid acceleration. Aye, Captain. Take a look at this. Let's see what Chakotay has to say. Take a look at this, Captain, Chakotay says. See the way they propel themselves? They seem to flagellate almost like Prosea. Exactly. But they're achieving incredible speeds, over 3,000 kilometers per second. Ensign Janeway scanned the field for repeating patterns. Maybe they're capable of type of communication. She says, aye. Chakotay says their anatomy is very unusual. They don't appear to have a digestive system of any kind, but they have external porous outer covering. My guess would be they absorb nutrients directly from space. Janeway says, incredible, a space-dwelling life form capable of metabolic organic matter. You know me, I can't say any of this stuff. Ensign Wildman says particle density in this part of space isn't very high. That might explain why they have to keep moving so fast. Feeding at 3,000 kilometers per second, not exactly leisurely dining, is it? So KES is eating herself out of house and home. So then Neelix brings KES flowers, and then he notices all the food she's eating. He wants to apologize for his bout of jealousy, the way he acted earlier with Tom Paris. So she shows him the mashed potatoes with butter, and he thinks it's horrible. He sees all the food she's eating. She says she can't stop eating. She's had 6 bowls of the potatoes. And she keeps eating the whole time they're talking. So then we're back on the bridge. And Paris says they're changing course, accelerating. Should I follow them? Janeway said, I'm afraid I'm concerned with disturbing them. Let's drop back a bit, give them more room. And Kim says, we're accelerating. And she goes, we're getting closer to this one. Mr. Paris, I'm trying to slow down. Our velocity doesn't correspond to the impulse reactor output. We're moving much faster than we ought to be. They seem to be pulling us toward them. Tuvek says, indicate EM sense Renaissance field. The creatures seem to be creating their own magnetic wave. That is what pulling the ship. We're getting closer. Reverse thrusters, Mr. Paris. Helm controls aren't responding, Captain. Mr. Tuvok, raise shields. Non-functional, Captain. They're pulling us in. They're going to eat the ship's energy, maybe? So Voyager ends up in the middle of the swarm. Life support's functionally normally, Captain, but there's a huge fluctuation in the EPS grids. It's weak, wrecking havoc with the impulse engines. Warp drive is still online, but one burst and we'll be out of here. But our exhaust could seriously harm the creatures. Janeway to Taurus, do we have any thoughts on how to get us out of the swarm without engaging warp engines? We might try something like a targ scoop. Can you enlighten us, Lieutenant? Taurus says, Klingons put them out on the ground in front of assault vehicles. They emanate a high-frequency tone that disperses Targ nerds in their path. I can modify the main deflectors to convert an invert magnetic pulse. Projected towards the swarm, it might be enough to nudge the creatures out of the way. So, go ahead, proceed. So then everybody's in sick bay. Kes is sick. The doctor thinks the creatures are doing this to Tess. She's having some kind of reaction to them. She's has elevated levels of electrophoric activity in her nervous system. There is an increased electrophoric activity in the ship's atmosphere, probably created by the creatures. You mean there's a connection between what's happening to Kes and those creatures? Well, we have to do something about it, Neelix says. You are making it impossible for me to think, much less treat my patient. You must leave. I won't leave. Kes needs me. Leave now or secure security. Neelix, get out! So they go back and forth a few times, and Tess reveals that the thing growing on her back is the sac where her future child would be held. That's where her species holds their children on their back. What man thought of this? But anyways, that's where her species holds their children on their back. And she explains all this to Janeway. And she's like, I'm too young for this. It's supposed to happen after. She supposedly has to be older than a certain age. It's a young age, though. Her species doesn't live very long. So, let's see what happens. So then we're back with the swarm again. No change, Captain. We're being pulled along with the swarm, heading 121 Mark 7. Speed now 6,000 kilometers per second. All systems are functioning within normal parameters. How is Taurus coming with the modifications to the main deflector? Her last report estimated they'd finished in another half hour. Let me know as soon as we're ready, Commander. So Janeway explains Tess's condition to Chakotay and fills him in on all of this. Then they have the life talk. I wasn't thinking about procreation, but it's supposed to be the inevitable outcome. We should consider the fact that it might be necessary for the crew to start having children. It might take us a long time to get home. It does take 75 years. We're going to need a replacement crew in half that time. Who'd have thought we'd be considering a generational ship when we were ordered on a 3-week mission? I know, but it's a problem we have to face now. What would that mean for the children? What kind of life would we be giving them on a starship? What about their needs, their childcare, their educational facilities, etc., etc., etc.? They're like, we'd need medical facilities, we'd need schools, we need education, we'd need recreation, we'd need all this extra stuff. But if it's going to take us 75 years to get home, we're going to need a replacement crew at some point. Big life discussion here. Kes informs Neelix of his potential um, daddyhood status. And he's speechless. He doesn't know what to say. And he thinks it's a little young for her to be having children at her age. Her species usually waits another couple years, I think. But they have this big life discussion. So Neelix is talking to Tuvok. He wanted to know what the lunch was today, and Neelix says he hasn't gotten around to lunch today, but he does have leftover stew, so he gives Teal'c the leftover stew. He goes, "It will have to do." And Neelix says, "I've had quite a run on it. As a matter of fact, it seems very popular. If it's all you're serving, it would stand to reason. You could have it with or without pepper sauce." "Without," Tuvok says. And then Tuvok has the discussion, or Neelix, let's say, has the discussion with Tuvok about children. The question is so broad, it's difficult to respond. Well, I mean, is it a lot of responsibility, isn't it? Watching them, caring for them, keeping them safe, giving them an education? That is certainly true. Sounds like it's a lot more trouble than it's worth. Mr. Neelix, I'm aware of your situation. It appears you are in some doubt as to the wisdom of becoming a parent. It's just all happened so fast. And their conversation goes on. So Torres comes in and says everything's ready. So Janeway has Paris ease them out carefully. The creatures seem to be okay so far. They show the creatures again. I think the creatures mistake their signaling as a mating thing or whatever, and they all land on the ship and they're draining all the energy from the ship. Balan is like, "We need to just get out of here." And Janeway's like, "Just back us off. Just continue to back us off. Maybe the ones on the ship will back off too." And then this big one appears. And they're like, "We don't know. It could be a parent. It could be a different thing. We don't know." They're tossing around ideas like crazy. So Janeway has this big speech. If the creatures threaten serious damage to the ship, I'll consider it an enemy. Until then, they've all been to be treated as indigenous life forms behaving normally in their natural habitat. We are the intruders here. Captain, look at it this way. They're attaching themselves to the large creature the same way they did to us. I think I know why. That plasma stream it ejected has almost same subspace signature as our warp nacelles. Then the smaller creatures are attached to our subspace emissions, perhaps in the same way some species are attracted to pheromones. Pheromones, you think it's a sexual attraction? Color change and provocative movement are frequently associated with mating rituals. Then you think these guys think we're one of them? Well, the behavior toward us and the large creature is similar. Possible they've mistaken us for a potential mate. Ah, see. So then KES starts explaining the ritual to Neelix. He's agreed to go through with it. So then the doctor is helping her to perform the ritual by rubbing her toes. So then we're back on the bridge again. If the smaller creatures are sexually attracted to our subspace emissions, then the large one may perceive us as a rival. That plasma burst sent us out might have been aggressive apostrophe. Then you think it would be happy to see us leave. Lieutenant, is there any way we could generate a short burst at impulse enough to get us away from the swarm? I could try releasing power from the impulse capacity cells straight into the driver coils. Do it. All right, I've accessed the accepting cap cells. I think I can give you enough for a short bursted impulse. And she gives it the shot. The creature is reacting. It's approaching rapidly on a collision course. Evasive maneuvers, Lieutenant. We don't have that power for that, Torres says. The creature is accelerating. And they're coming after the ship. They want to do something. So then they try a whole different bunch of maneuvering. They try ramming. They try using the maneuver thrusters. They try engaging the creature bumps them back. They try a photon torpedo. And then Chakotay turns around and says, Chakotay says, maybe we should act as a submissive instead. So, Kim says, if we vent plasma, it'll make us look blue. So they do that. And they vent plasma and the creatures stop moving away from them. And they roll the ship a little bit. And it seems to be working. The creatures start detaching from the ship. So it seems to be working. KES and Neelix have one final talk. She decided not to conceive, and they're just having a chat about it. He agrees that it was her choice. He is a tad bit disappointed, but he understands it was her choice. They have this big, meaningful conversation. So then we actually get a captain's overview. Captain's log, Stardate 48921.3. I continue to wonder about the issue of procreation aboard the ship. Certainly it's wrong to interfere with the private lives and decisions of the crew, yet I remain concerned that the environment we could provide for any children born here. So Ensign Wildman is going to be a recurring character. Very infrequently, but she will be showing up again a couple of times in the future. She lets Janeway know that she is with child and her husband is on Deep Space Nine, and he'll never know. He'll never know about his child as it stands now. As it stands now. We still got 6 more years. Actually, 5 more years. This is season 2. So that's how the episode ends. I do this right. So that's the end of this disc. We'll be moving on to disc 2. And those episodes are also out of order. I think it's 19 and then 122. So we'll see what happens. And don't forget to check out If Then. I really work hard on those. So check those out too. Have a good one.